Start at the beginning, go through the sentences, and we're going to mark it up so you guys can follow along with me how I would mark it up. You can kind of see how you could think through a question. So it says the active ingredients in many pesticides are chemical compounds that kill organisms such as insects, molds, and weeds. Right, so the focus of our question is pesticides. I'm going to put a box around pesticides and a star, just so I have a mental note that this is the main focus of the pesticides, but we're focusing on pesticides in general, so we're not going to worry about fungicides, herbicides, pesticides. This is a generalized question, right? Okay. Next sentence. Proponents claim that the use of pesticides improve crop yields and thus protects land and soil by reducing the conversion of forest and wetlands to croplands. Okay, that was a long sentence. There's a lot that's going on in there. Let's take it one by one. So proponents. I'm going to underline proponents. That's our key word. What does proponents mean? It's a plus. It's a positive, right? It's pro. It means these are the reasons why pesticides are good. So I'm going to put a plus next to proponents just to make a mental note that this is where my positive, my plus things are. So I have proponents, plus, and then I'm going to mark in my sentences just a little plus where the positives are. So it says pesticides improve crop yields. So I'm going to put a plus by improved crop yield. Improved crop yield is one of the positives, and it protects land and soil by reducing the conversion of forest. So we're going to put another positive here by protects land and soil. Those are my two positives. Those are my two plus things about pesticides. And this, again, this is just a mental note, so when I look at the question, I know exactly where to look for my positive portion. Next, we have opponents. I'm going to underline opponents, and obviously that's the opposite of proponents. So we're going to put a little negative to remind ourselves this is where our negatives come in. And opponents of pesticide use claim that pesticides degrade water and soil quality. So I'm going to put a little negative, minus, above and, because it's talking about degrading water and soil quality. So this is one portion where we're going to put a negative over the and to show that it's for both of these things, both about water and soil. Next, goes on to say that other modern agricultural techniques and practices are responsible for the improved crop yields in recent years. So again, it's another long sentence. And if you're not paying attention, you may read improved crop yields in recent years as a good thing, right? If you have improved crops and more things, you may think that's a positive. But why is it in the opponent's portion of the sentence? So we have to pay attention. It says, other modern agricultural techniques are responsible for these improved crop yields. So they're saying it's not necessarily pesticides that are making our crops perform better and giving us better crop yields. It's these other modern agricultural techniques unrelated to pesticides that are improving crop yields. So I would put a negative over improved crop yields. So I have my two negatives for the opponent part. And that's the only information they give us. This is all we have to work with. The rest we have to figure out on our own. So we're going to dive into part A right now. Be sure to do all the following. There's 4 parts, right? Hypothesis, method, control, dependent variable. So this is going to take some time. So what I would do, I'm going to underline the action word. In this portion of part A is state. And our key word is hypothesis. So we're going to state the hypothesis. Whenever you see the word state, just think one sentence. For a statement, just do one sentence. Don't try to do more. Don't try to waste your time. Just one sentence. Next part, part 2, is describe. I'm going to underline the action word, circle the keyword, method. So we're going to describe the method. And when you're using description or describing, think 2 to 3 sentences. Okay, so a little bit longer. So we're going to describe the method. And next, we're going to identify the control. So here again, our action word is identify. Control is our keyword. So we're going to underline identify, circle control. And identify is similar to state, where you only just use one sentence at the most. Remember, this is all about time management, so don't do more than you have to. Again, identify, the next part. And dependent variable is our keyword, so we're going to circle that. Identify the dependent variable. So we've gone through part A. And it's important to think about in part A is what's not stated, right? Well, they don't ask you to put in a problem statement, right? They don't ask you to put in materials for your lab. They don't ask you for a conclusion. So again, don't waste your time doing those things. You don't get extra points for extra examples. You don't get extra points for extra information. Just focus on what they ask you. Don't do extra. Does that make sense? Okay, moving on to part B. Again, here's our action word, describe. I'm going to underline describe experimental results that would lead you to reject your hypothesis. So I'm going to recircle reject hypothesis, because that's our key word in part A1. And just to make a mental note, I'm going to draw an arrow to part A1 so I know that part B is referring back to this. And all we're going to do is try to come up with a statement or a description. Remember, that's 2 to 3 words or 2 to 3 sentences. That's going to cause us to reject our hypothesis, right? A null hypothesis. Part C says, one strategy for dealing with agricultural pests is integrated pest management. I know we haven't talked about that yet, but you definitely are going to want to remember integrated pest management. Circle that. Integrated pest management. Okay, that's going to be key to part C and part D. And we'll talk about what integrated pest management means in a second, don't worry. One of the things I do want to highlight though in this question is that integrated pest management, it's a long word, right? But it's here, it's abbreviated for you, IPM. So going forward, when you're writing your description, don't write the whole word, just write IPM, save yourself some time. They already put IPM here to show you that that's what that means. So don't go back and write the whole word out, or continue to write it, just write IPM. You won't get any points taken off of that. Okay, part 1 says describe IPM. So again, I'm going to underline my action word, circle my keyword, describe IPM. As part of your description, include 2 specific pest control approaches that are part of IPM. So we're going to circle 2 just so I have a mental note knowing that this part I need 2. Not 1, but 2 different parts of IPM, or parts that are specific to IPM. Part 2 says identify. We're going to underline identify because that's our action word. How many sentences for identify? 1, right? Just 1 sentence. Identify one environmental benefit of using IPM. So I'm going to circle environmental benefits, that's what we're focusing on. And lastly, part D, again, here's an action word, describe 2 agricultural practices, other than those involving pest control, that increase crop yield. So I'm going to circle increase crop yield as well, just because I want to focus or remind myself that we're not talking about